This is Maury Miller. It's September 24th, and I'm speaking with Florence Rhoads, who goes by the name of Flossie. So I'm going to ask you, first of all, Flossie, where and when were you born?
I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana, in the Florence Crittenden home. And my folks adopted me at 6 weeks.
Okay.
My mother was originally from Denver, Brighton, outside of Denver, and she was an unwed mother. And at that time, you didn't have unwed children. You know, you didn't have illegitimate children. So they shipped her off to Terre Haute, to the orphanage. And that's where I was born.
Okay. And what was the date when you were born?
May the 29th, 1936.
Okay. And then you were adopted by whom?
Mildred and Alva Lettner, Letner.
Okay. And were there other children? Were there brothers and sisters?
Well, I have some stepchildren, or stepbrothers and
That's
sisters.
what I meant, yes.
No. I have met them, but I have not been in contact with them for many years.
Okay.
I met my birth mother.
Okay.
Bill and I went out to Denver, Brighton, and met her when the kids were smaller.
Okay.
My kids.
So in the house where you grew up, you were an only child?
Right, until they took in another girl, and it was some of my father's blood relation, you know.
Okay.
And she was mentally handicapped, and they raised her.
Okay.
And she passed away in 2017.
And what was the difference in age between you and her?
Well, let me see. She was 70 when she passed away, and I will be 79. And they took her in like she was 3.
Okay.
So, and I don't, you know. So, 2000.
So 7 or 8 years
Yeah.
difference. Okay. And they lived in Marshall?
We lived out by the state line in the country.
Okay.
Well, we originally lived in Terre Haute and then south of Terre Haute, and then we moved to out state line road.
Okay,
south.
so this was on a farm?
15 acres.
It was just a small farm. Okay. What do you recall about the neighborhood where you grew up? What was it like?
It was very congenial. I went to a one-room school. LaFern Adams was my teacher, and I started there in the 2nd grade and went until through the 7th. Then I came out here to junior high at the very first class that they had out here
At the junior high.
At the junior high.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to where you grew up. Were there neighbors around?
Right. It was like a mile down the road, and we lived right before you get to Kirk. We lived about a mile down the road, and there were several neighbors, and they used to get together for, you know, dinners and such.
Okay. Were there other children your age?
Not many. There was a family up the road, had a son, and he was about a year or 2 older than I was.
But you didn't have playmates as neighbors?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, what do you recall about growing up? Did you have chores?
Yes, I did a lot around the house. I, did the dishes and such. We didn't have electricity until after I had moved to Marshall. They didn't have.
Okay.
No phone.
Okay. Well, talk about how you spent your time. What was your playtime? What did you like to do?
I played with, we had dogs and cats and animals, and I played just alone, I think, and read a lot. Okay.
Well, what were some of the family activities that you remember? Did you church? Did you go places? What did you do?
Mom and I went to church. Dad never went. We went to the Baptist church a few miles away.
Okay. And you said you started school where?
I started down south of Terre Haute, and then I moved to the one-room school
Okay.
near where I lived, Pleasant Grove.
Okay, and you went through all of elementary school there?
2 through the 7th.
2 to 7.
2nd through the 7th.
Okay.
Of course, it was all, all the classes were together.
Okay. And then you came to Marshall for junior high and senior high. Well, what are some of your high school memories? What activities did you do? What did you participate in?
Some cheerleading. I enjoyed, the ball games, some club activities, Spanish club and this, that, and the other.
Okay. Do you remember other activities that the family did together? You did with your parents? Did you go places, do things?
Not a lot.
Okay.
No, not a lot.
Okay. What did you remember particular hobbies you did as a child?
I really don't think I had a lot of hobbies other than reading and,
Okay. Okay. So then after high school, what?
I got married
How did you meet your husband?
uptown at the Candy Kitchen.
Okay, good.
Then we got married. I graduated in May, and then we got married in September.
Okay. And you lived in Marshall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you always live in Marshall?
Bill and I, yes. We've always lived here.
Okay.
Right here, down the street above the garage. Where we first lived when we got married. Then we bought a home on Ash Street. Then we bought another one on Archer. And then we bought our present home. So, we've not moved around very much.
Again, here in Marshall. Okay, did you work? Did you have jobs?
When I first got out of high school, I worked at Kroger's in the warehouse in the office. And then I didn't work for a while because we had 3 children. And I stayed at home, and then I started out at Burnside. I started out as an aide, and then I went on to further my education and got a practical nursing degree.
Mm-hmm.
With the help of the auxiliary. They gave me the money to go.
Where did you get that degree?
Ivy Tech.
Okay.
And then I also went on and took some classes down at Lincoln Trail College, to help me further my learning.
So how long were you a nurse? Were you at the nursing home then as a nurse?
Out here at Burnside, I started September 17th, 1963, a few days after it opened. And I worked like I said, I worked as an aide. And then I went to school and I was an LPN, and I worked as an LPN, and I worked then in some doctor's offices, and then I went back out here and worked as a nurse.
Okay, so how long do you think you were all together at Burnside's?
Well, off and on. But like I said, I quit and go to doctor's offices and work for them for a while. I worked for 3 or 4 different doctors. And then I went back to Burnside, and then I was doing a lot of the office paperwork at the end, but I worked until I was 72.
Until you were 72?
Mm-hmm. And Bill had a stroke, so therefore I had to stay home and take care of him.
Okay, so that was just 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
My goodness.
Well, let me ask you some general questions about your life. As you think about all the people you've known in your life and the things that have happened in your life, is there a person or event that was a major influence?
Well, I remember some of the catastrophic things like World War II I could remember that Sunday afternoon clearly, and I remember the end of the war. I walked to school a lot and mother took me too, but, and of course, 911. Just, different
Okay.
things throughout
Okay.
my life.
Okay. Another general question, as you think about your lifetime and all the things that have been created, all the things that have been invented during that lifetime,
Oh, gracious.
what modern conveniences affect your life most, do you think?
What? Probably the electricity, the inside bathroom. So we didn't,
But you didn't have as a
no,
child.
we didn't. I didn't have those as a child. I mean, I remember studying by the coal light, and then we had the kerosene lights and had to go outside to the bathroom.
Okay.
Afraid of snakes, afraid of bugs.
Okay. Well, one other question, Flossie. If you were talking to somebody who wasn't from here, how would you describe Marshall, and why would you tell them you live here?
It's a good town. People are good to you. People have been good to me. And, it's a good place to live.
Well, Flossie, I want to thank you.
One of the people that was very good to me and helped me a lot was Dr. George Mitchell.
And talk about that. Why did you say
Well,
that?
he was very much behind me. He supported me. He helped me get the scholarship so that I had my education. And he was very much, he trusted me and I trusted him.
Well, I appreciate that.